Norway has been great hosts. Today, we're going to have a great panel to speak about electromobility, about the barriers, opportunities, and challenges with 4 very interesting experts that will offer us their view from government at the federal level, subnational level, from civil society in Mexico, civil society, local civil society, and civil society at the international level. And hopefully we will have a very fruitful discussion and conversation. So, coming back, tusen takk for invitationen. And that's as far as I'm going to go with my very rusty Norwegian. So I will start with the panel. And that I will start with Isabel, which I will present. She's President for Global Sustainability. I will be presenting them as I ask them the questions so that we can expand only more in their ideas and they can present themselves through their ideas. She's President for Global Sustainability, as I told you. So I would like your perspective on what's your vision for sustainable mobility and what's the role of electromobility, sustainable mobility in Mexico, and what's the role of electromobility in that vision from global sustainability perspective.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I feel humbled to be surrounded by so many experts from around the world and in this panel, obviously. I think we are living in a world of disruption. And when we look around at the geopolitics and what is happening just next door in the US, I think we need all inspiration. And when I see the Norwegian case, which I have followed over the years, I just feel that an inspiration not only of a oil-producing country that is exporting petrol, that can actually take the lead in what is the transition to very innovative technologies that are going to be changing the world. I truly believe that I'm not only, inspired by Norway in general, but in particularly by the Norwegian EV Association and by Buddy. I just knew about Buddy now, but I was just thinking to myself, there are so many ways to get to electromobility. There is not only one road, and I believe that what we are seeing around the world and with all the drive electric partners is precisely that there are many ways to get there. And I think that Mexico has a critical role, not only because it's an important economy, it's the 12th largest economy in the world, but it's also the 7th largest vehicle producer, and is the 4th largest vehicle exporter. And so Mexico has a role to play in the world in this transition. And I believe that we are at a critical juncture. Either we lead or we don't lead, and we fail the world because we have a global responsibility. It's not only Mexico and Mexicans. So I think that this connection with Norway during this visit and with Drive Electric, with their commitment to Mexico, I think it's a great opportunity for Mexico to innovate for Mexicans, but also to innovate for the world. And I would say that, for many people, Olinea has been, a project that may not have so much of a vision, but I think it's, so much of a practical pathway to be successful. But I believe that the vision that is behind Olinea, that has been presented by the Mexican president, is what we need. But we need inspiration so that there are many buddies, there are many Olineas, there are many, entrepreneurs that can actually prove that Mexico can be part of that technological disruption that we need. We know that in a country like Mexico, like in India and other emerging economies, probably thinking about just autos is not the right narrative, because we are a very unequal society. And we also have more than 80% of population living in cities. So we really need to think and incorporate in our thinking about innovation and disruption the equality aspect. For me, that's essential for electromobility to succeed in Mexico, because if you ask every Mexican, they would say, I want an electric car. But if you go out into Mexico City, as you know, all who are visiting can notice, the traffic, the congestion is such that we couldn't handle to have 90% of new vehicle sales in Mexico if we are not addressing public transport, if we are not addressing how we move goods. So I think that, in a country where 80% of the population cannot afford a car, forget about an electric car, we really need to bring that narrative into our vision of the future of sustainable mobility. I'd like to close saying that obviously we need to reduce emissions, not only because Mexico has a commitment, a global commitment to reduce emissions overall, but we need to reduce emissions because we owe it to the Mexican people, especially when you look at pollution in cities. As I mentioned, 80% or more of the population are urban settlers. We need to have and to address the need for public transportation and for the reduction of emissions. And we need also to hold those high-income sectors accountable. They can afford the EVs. And in those sectors, we need to have the kind of policies that, you were talking about, Marcos. How do we penalize those who are polluting, and how we reward those who are contributing to the innovation? So in Mexico, like in other complex countries, especially emerging economies, we need a framework, a framework of sustainable mobility where EVs have a place, but it's not the only solution. I believe that we can do that in a way that people would aspire to have access to electric vehicles, even if it is not an electric car. Even if it is, we're talking about bikes, we're talking about public transport, we're talking about last mile low carbon emission vehicles. So that's my vision, and I believe that, to me, this has been an issue that I became very passionate about, because I think it's part of the democratization process. It is part of the transition that we all need to address the most important challenge in our existence, which is climate change.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. So now I'm going to ask Maestro Rodolfo Osorio, who is the National Electromobility Coordinator from the Ministry of Economy at the federal level. I'm going to ask you, what is the strategy that the ministry is following? What are the steps you're following to foster investment and to kickstart electromobility in our country? Could you expand on what you're thinking and your strategy, if possible?
Yes, thank you, and hello, good night, and to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation of the Ambassador of Norway, and especially Ms. Ambassador, for your hospitality. And as I said, it's a pleasure to share this panel now with local government, the Alliance, accessibility, and all these nice people that are here. That it's very important for us here in the Economy Ministry. No? Without a doubt, spaces like this share between nations reflect the strengthening of our relationships and our vision to place the electromobility sector at the forefront. Today, I would like to briefly talk about the strategy of the Plan Mexico, which under the leadership of the President Claudia Sheinbaum and the Economy Minister Marcelo Ebrard has been launched to support and strengthen our country's industry, increase national content, create well-paying jobs, and foster regional integration. Specifically about this plan, I'm going to talk about three concerned actions. One was the launch and support to 20 specific sectors, one of which is electromobility. So it's the first time that the Ministry of Economy will specifically have this sector to follow up and to be in touch with all the producers, all the vehicles. As Isabel told, Mexico is a very important car producer, so we now to do that switch to BES vehicles also. Also, the second concrete action is the creation of 10 economics welfare corridors, and also the last 2 days ago, the publication of the decree granting fiscal incentives to supporting all this strategy. This is very important right now for us because it's the first time that these kind of incentives will be given for the industry, okay? So the first action, it's the follow-up for the support of these 20 specific sectors in the national industry. And as I said, the electromobility sector, it's one of those, and the idea is to promote ongoing dialogue with all the public stakeholders at the federal, state, and municipal level, as national and international private actors, associations, and academic institutions, with one clear goal: to support the electromobility industry and to ensure an effective, inclusive, and sustainable transition. For the Ministry of Economy, electromobility is not just a change of a type of vehicles we produce, but is a comprehensive transformation of our industrial ecosystem, and both in public and private transportation. As I said, public transportation is very important for our country, and we are very behind in these steps because all our buses and everything we have here in Mexico, it's very old, so we need to push on that, no? Therefore, we consider it's essential during this transition to address the challenge and jointly with the federal agencies like Semarnat, LACRE, Energy, so we can focus on an integrated approach with the effective public policies, clear regulations, and quality standards. These actions will help the consumers and the manufacturers to have confidence on the BI vehicles. The second action, these welfare corridors, are a strategy designed to activate the economic and social potential of specific regions. These geographic areas formed by several federal entities aim to integrate infrastructure, industry, and services. These corridors can help local suppliers, small and medium-sized enterprises with large manufacturers seeking to increase, as I said, national content, add value to production, and provide state incentives. They also facilitate the communication that allows for national standardization and implementation of the regulations in the electromobility sector, as we just talked yesterday with the Estado de Mexico, a very big state in Mexico, and we're working together to launch a new, I bet she's going to talk about right now in a minute, but we're excited what she's going to tell you. And also the third one, this decree for stimulus, for taxes, aims to provide taxes benefits, tax reductions, or implementation of these incentives. We think that's very important because in Mexico, the EV cars are expensive, and the income of the people is low. So we have to give these kind of incentives and also make that American cars that are sold here in Mexico, like Ford and those cars that some of those exports to Norway are very expensive in Mexico. So we're talking with this to have a more economic car, so be available, because Chinese cars are taking the market very strong. And now with this new administration of the US, we're having a lot of new dialogues, disposes, and we have to establish what's going to be with this market. We're pushing it because it's important for us, because Chinese cars are a lot more cheapest than American cars. So that's why the numbers have been followed up very quick last year, because the entrance of these Chinese vehicles. And also, it is important to say that private investment, regional development, this job creation, and dual training, it's important in this decree that was launched just 2 days ago. And as we talked with the ambassador, I think this is the time for electromobility to push it in Mexico. The conditions are here, and I will stay with that. Thank you.
Now, Maestra Mónica Martínez, she works at the Secretary of Mobility at the State of Mexico. As a state, the State of Mexico with more than 18 million people. 18 million people. So my question to you...
We triple. Norway, sorry.
Yeah, almost 4 times Norway. And that's where I used to live. And my commute was 3 hours one way and 3 hours to the other, because I used to work, and I work at Coyoacán, so it was 6-hour commute. That's why I believe it's very important, and that's the reality of the State of Mexico. So my question for you, which is, what is the role of subnational entities and in electromobility and in fostering a more sustainable, humane, and efficient mobility?
Shoot. Thank you, Ambassador, for the invitation. Our governor is really humble to accept this invitation. We try to build alliances with the international community, and we are really moved by that, by the invitation. Yes, indeed, we are at 18 million people living all together. So it's a big challenge. I don't want to be the one who gives the bad news, but that's a reality we face, right? Before addressing this issue so important globally, we have to address these local situations or problems. If you ask any citizen in the state of Mexico, what's the main problem living, like facing every day, they're gonna respond security, right? Or water access. And security not on the street, in public transport. So this is the first issue we have to address. We cannot ignore, of course, what is going on at the global and national level. So we try hard to be rapid, to build like a kind of a roadmap. So for us, it is very important to establish a clear roadmap, because indeed we are addressing in a we have in a first year of government right now, so we already start building and writing our new mandate, right? Which is clear for us now that these new lines of public transportation that we are trying to build as a first step will be how are we going to connect with electricity? So this national framework has to be very clear for us, which is not right now. They are still working on the national policy, but we are kind of going a little bit ahead with this roadmap, with international community, with the Inter-American Development Bank, for instance. We are working right now on establish this roadmap with them. We have a lot of, in the region, in the Latin American region, they have a lot of experience doing all this legal framework that will gives you a lot of light in order to reach our mandate, which is, we have already like 5 main projects in the state that is related directly to electromobility. One of them is a metro system, which is huge, it's high capacity. It's like, we are gonna do it, but we are gonna do it at the national level as well. We are going together, and it's going to comply like a lot of commitment from local, state, municipality, state, and national. So this is our mandate to build 2 lines, about 50 kilometers of metro system. So after that, we are trying also to establish a new system, a sustainable system, which is a cable, urban cable system. We have already 2 lines, and we are we are building the 3rd one, and we are starting the studies, the technical studies for the 4th line. So it also implies national finance, and also implies electricity. So we have to connect at the national level to establish electric plants in the state, which is costly, right? And we have scarce money at the national level because they have already decided the big projects. So we are trying also to implement this national collaboration with an agreement with the Minister of Economics, and trying to start implementing pilot programs for the new corridors for buses, electric fleet. We are trying to buy complete new for this first year, about 200 buses, electric buses. It might be like not that much, but it is really important to give the first step. There are, like many people say, there are baby steps, but we are trying to get at it, right? So with this commitment that we are gonna sign a commitment agreement, we're trying also to start with capacity building through training with high-tech companies, and also innovative centers, which enables for students, practitioners, entrepreneurs, etc., to start with these capacity building programs, which are also the first steps. So this roadmap sounds sometimes like a little bit messy, a little bit chaotic, but this is, I guess, normal. You go to the local governments, really municipal governments, they are really trying to catch up, like in essential public policy. So we are trying to build with them this first step, like together with the very local communities, because the state of Mexico has a lot of rural communities. So in order to achieve our goals, our mandate, with these new lines, electric lines, buses lines, roadways, and also metro lines, we really need to communicate at a very local level. So I will leave it like that. I don't want to be pessimistic, just realistic a little bit, and trying to get you, to catch your attention, right? How much attention local government need, and how important it is to establish this dialogue at the international level in order to have a broad, a comprehensive plan, right? To listen to the local, to listen to the real needs in order to jump and catch up this global this global advance or this global movement, it's in our mandate right now, which is important. We have a plan. We have some allies also. We are here talking about it, which is really important. I see a lot of faces right here that we are working together, like with international organizations, banks, and really, we are really moved and intrigued also, right, to see what happens. So, because nobody knows the correct answer. We are trying, right, to make this this plan work. So I will leave it right now here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So now for you, Rebecca Fisher. She is the director for the Drive Electric program from Climate Works Foundation. So the question I have for you is, why is it important for civil society to be involved in developing sustainable transportation and electromobility?
Thank you, Jorge. And first, thank you so much to the ambassador and your family for welcoming not only us to your home, but the larger us, right? There are many partners of the Drive Electric campaign that are here today, and we truly are a global family. And we're so excited to come here to Mexico to welcome all of the Mexican partners to our global family. We're a network that learns from each other, and that's, to answer your question, that's why it's so important to have NGOs and civil society involved, is because we're connecting each other and we're connecting with our different messages and different tactics and approaches and ways of supporting government through technical assistance. And so my hope is that through the connections that we've built here over the last 2 weeks, as Marcus mentioned, the lessons that our partners in India have learned can be helpful for the work that you're doing here in Mexico. And the things that you're learning through all of your amazing projects are going to be so inspirational, hopefully, to perhaps our partners in Indonesia or Africa. And it's just this interconnected nature of the CSO, NGO space that really does kind of motivate the role of the Drive Electric campaign. Right? We're a people-powered kind of coalition focused on advancing government policy and business leadership, and we're supported by philanthropy. So we're in this really unique niche where we have the opportunity to work across different segments. Every segment of that piece is so important. But I think the real thing that surprised me when we were here in Mexico, which is I'm taking with me and is inspiring me, actually perhaps two things. The first is just walking out of the hotel or walking out of the airport, seeing how many EVs are already on the road, seeing the Soy Eléctrico buses around the city. And it's just, it's already happening here in Mexico. It can be very daunting to think about all the things you need to do into the future, but to celebrate where you are today it's truly remarkable. And I'll jokingly say the second thing that surprised me very happily here in Mexico City were all the dogs that are around the city. I miss my dog. It's been 2 weeks. And it's both just, a testament to how lively and how connected to not only our animal friends, but also the environment here in Mexico City. You feel the air quality, and you can see on the days when there's not as bad air quality, the sky is just this beautiful blue. And it's very motivating. I think it's, one of our partners in Indonesia said that her vision for the future was that every morning she can see a clear sunrise, and that every night she can go to bed and stargaze because the skies are clear. And for me, we're zoomed out a lot. We're at the global level. But what makes the work that all of you do, that all of our partners from Drive Electric do, very tangible is the individual stories of how an electric bus, an electric scooter, an electric vehicle are transforming lives. Even just in the ride here today, we had a BYD taxi that we ordered on Uber. We didn't know what we would get. And the whole drive, we were pestering this poor man with all of these questions about how did he buy his car? Why did he buy the car? How much money was he making compared to when he used to drive a fossil fuel vehicle? And he was saying he was making so much more money. He was getting higher quality riders. And he said that a lot of his riders like to ask him questions about the car. And it's just, he said it's such an enjoyable experience to be an EV driver. And that it's, that just encapsulates, I think, the the power of this transition. We've heard very similar stories from boda drivers in Kenya, from matatu drivers in Kenya, from some of the minibus taxis that have converted to electric in South Africa. And the list goes on, right? This is a global transition. It's already starting. And I think one of you kind of mentioned the idea of leapfrogging. I think it was you, Monica. And that's what is motivating a lot of the work that we're doing here in Mexico, is this opportunity to leapfrog as more and more people start to move around cities and the country, as more and more goods move around cities and the country. Let's move them on electric wheels, whatever size they are. That's what's truly inspiring, right, is the end of the polluting tailpipe and ideally cleaner skies for all of us.
Thanks a lot. So I will ask you a second question, all of you, but this will be a briefer one, just short answers, please, because we want to go to the cocktail and to network. But so I will start with you, Rebecca. Okay. Since we are at the Norwegian home, what could Mexico learn, ask from Norway?
I think what the Norway EV Association has done so well is connect EV drivers into a community. And I think that that is so powerful. And Marcus kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I think you're quite humble. It is a community in Norway that talks to each other, that likes each other's EV posts online, that come together every year for an EV summit. Having that community family to be a part of, I think, is something that could be built here in Mexico. It might be already kind of starting to be nurtured, but it's massive in Norway, and your organization has done a wonderful job of really nurturing that.
I will go with Rodolfo. So, also in the same sort of pathway, what are the main barriers that you are facing? And I mean, in this room, you might not know everyone, but I know most of them, and they're the brightest people I've seen in this type of policy. So, what are the main barriers? If you were to ask for assistance, help, what are the barriers that you're facing in leading this transformation?
Well, there's a lot, no, that has been told, but especially the cost of cars are one of the biggest barriers. Is the cars are too high for a lot of the people in Mexico. Second, the charging infrastructure. We are so limited, no? So it was very nice to talk about the experience in Norway, so we can try to make these corridors, not trying to do all the way in the country, but start with the cities and then make some these corridors interstates. And I think the third one is the norms, the regulations, the norms, and the incentives, no? This is a huge step, the ones I just called the incentives that are going to be starting to get, but definitely we need more incentives, and also transmit, no, to the users the benefits and how nice may be to maybe drive a EV car, so they get more confident in using this technology and stop being like afraid, no, that their investment for a lifetime maybe will not last for so long, because, and also I think here when you already buy a car, the service, no, there's a lot of resistance there, because as I said, maybe there's not enough dealers, or they're afraid if they have a problem there will not be a solution. But I think also that this initiative of this network of all the EV whole cars, it's something that I was talking with Eugenio of the AMA Association. I think that's a really, really nice and good idea. And thank you for your presentation this morning. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mónica, we've been discussing one main barrier that you have been facing, and you just stated it at the beginning, which is investment and funding.
Right.
We know that you have been, well, we've been working together in terms of land value capture and in different strategies that you're thinking. But, and I would like you to expand on these challenges of financing and on financing sustainable mobility and electromobility at the state level, if you might.
Right. This is a difficult one to respond, but I will try my best. There are like several funds that we are also like trying to apply like for international organizations. C40 cities, for instance, is one. JET funds, Climate Works, etc. And also at the federal government, there is a program for infrastructure. So, and also with the Ministry of Economics, we're trying to get this pilot program in order to implement the infrastructure, how to deploy all of this. We have a roadmap where to put all these chargers, right? This is the very, very first step. I mean, to have a layout and try to figure it out. So according to our state programs, we have like these 3-4 big and huge projects that we are talking at the federal government. And this is a national policy from the President chamber, which is like a mix of investment from private. For us, it's like really important to share risk. Public at the state, federal, but also municipal, in order to engage attention, to pay attention where you are putting your money. Your little money if you want, but you are, part of the big team and a big part of a big plan, and sometimes we forget about them, right? So this is very important for the president right now to engage with all of them, to transform the cities, to get it like greener, like really to engage with them. So that's our job at the state level, to bring them to the table, to give their opinions. That I have to say, we already started doing that. So they put in the table some money, like less than a third part. And also, we are trying to get like international funds. So I would say like we have enough funds, but the real challenge, I would say, is like institutions, how to create strong institutions and credible institutions, and open to the public, be transparent, and inside the government, how to enhance capabilities, how to make all these teams, like really strong. This is the main one I would say, at the state level, right? So yes, we are like, and we have companies in the state right now, about 8 manufacturers, like the big ones in the state of Mexico. And also we are trying to get more attention from outside with the help of these guys, and to create a kind of like main components to the change. Exactly, thank you. So how can we create inside the state all these capabilities? Through training, right? So I would say it's an entire challenge with several components, and we are at the same time seeking more funds, international funds. So.
And lastly, Isabel, so what shall NGOs like ours, what's our role, what should we do, how shall we coordinate, what's our role in all this, and what is global sustainability doing at the time?
Thank you very much. I think that as civil society, we have the role of inspiring, but also identifying missions. I think that we need to have a mission that allows us to bring everyone together around a narrative. I think there are a number of relevant issues. I mean, we're facing a grand challenge, right? It's not just one challenge, but when you think about mobility, it's a complex transition. It's not only one sort of vehicle or another. It's how we move as persons and as, you know, the goods that we need to survive. So what we think is that as civil society, we can help governments, especially in times where there is no enough resources to address water scarcity, inequality, mobility. So I think as NGOs, we have a great responsibility to identify the missions and to help orchestrate the different actors. So at Sostenibilidad Global, we have created this coalition with 20 partners, including 6 governments and the state of Mexico, and obviously with very close partnership with the Ministry of Economy, because we believe that, you know, it's only by having a lab of these projects that have a framework, you know, we can both experiment because we don't have solutions. I mean, this is a new transition. We need to be open to experimentation, but also to be very clear about what the mission is. And I think that there is enough capacity in this room, internationally, nationally, to come together with a common vision. And instead of the fragmentation that we see, because there are many things happening everywhere, we can build a framework together and a mission, and therefore, around that mission, you know, and also one important component, it's not only collaboration, it's dialogue. I think we have lost the ability to have a conversation, a dialogue, and understand the different perspectives. I think the opening of the present government to have that dialogue, it's, you know, a great opportunity for all to think about the mission, you know, and how we can come together with the support of international actors, with international NGOs. But as NGOs, I think we have a big responsibility, but also working with the private sector. I think we are obsessed sometimes with just working with the government, but we need, as NGOs, also to bring the private sector, to train them, and to create awareness of the importance of sustainability, because it's something demanded by the people, and not only a regulation or a norm. So our coalition already has the representation of about 500 businesses, you know, producers of electric components, producers of buses, operators, you know, the big associations, and they are really committed to this mission because they know this is the future. So I think this is a great opportunity for NGOs and for all of us who have been working on this to bring people together and to design that mission, because government cannot do everything. So we need to support those efforts.
Well, I guess we're on the time, and so I will end the conversation here so that you will have an excuse to reach to the panelists while having the cocktail and ask all the questions you have. And that will be a great catalyst for discussion and conversation. And so I will give the floor to the ambassador to...
Thank you so much to all the panelists and the moderator. This was really interesting. And I really also wanted to thank my dear colleague Ulises Canciola, who used to be the Mexican ambassador to Norway. He was actually the first person who told me when we met and discussed what issues we should explore, where we could have more cooperation between Mexico and Norway. And you immediately said electromobility. And you were trying, and you met with the Elbilforening earlier than me. And I know that you push the agenda there, I try to push the agenda there here. But I feel it's really happening now. So it also shows that we have to have patience, but things can happen. And I believe that the changes are happening in Mexico now, and Norway is ready to support. And then I also wanted to share with you, because you were talking about, it's also a mental change to drive an electric car. And I must tell you that the first time that we bought an electric car. We lived in London, and we were moving back to Norway. And we found this Nissan Leaf, which at that point was a very modern and great and quite affordable and fairly long range, while right now it's not, but it was then. And then I remember, I think we got the car 3 days before we were heading back. And then it was my husband that was going to, for the first time, he put himself behind the steering wheel to drive the electric car. He was actually heading from Oslo, from London. So that was like the longest, and I remember I took the kids, went on the plane, and I said, I have no idea when I will see him again. But I know that he had the time of his life cruising through Europe, trying to figure out you were doing like mathematics with it, because the first time you do the electric car thing, it's quite kind of, it's quite surreal, and you don't understand it, and you try to calculate, but he made it. Yeah, he made it. He made a lot of stops at flea markets because he had to charge, and he filled up the cars with stuff while he was charging.
I met a lot of people through that.
And then secondly, when we brought the electric car to Mexico, as you were saying about talking to people, I mean, the yellow buddy has become a celebrity here in Lomas. Everyone comments on it, and it's also a conversation starter, and people stop us on the street, they take photos, and it has an Instagram account now, so it has clearly, it's an influencer. So also to say, and also I must say that after you have driven an electric car, you will never go back. Yeah. And it's something about the silence, nobody has mentioned that, but it's actually so silent, and you feel cleaner, and it's just an extremely comfortable experience. So when you've tried it, you never go back. So I hope that that's also what we will see now in Mexico, now that you make that step forward, there's no way back, and I wish you the best of luck, and we're here to support you. So thank you so much.